I'm James Hogan.
And I'm Stacy Miller, and this is the November 2024 edition of Western Wednesdays.
Welcome to Western Wednesdays, the show where we talk to WCU alumni who've done really cool, interesting things in their life. And boy, oh boy, Stacy Miller, Director of Alumni Engagement, we've got a good one today.
Great one today. JT Poston, class of 2015, coming to us as the most recently.
This is, okay, so first of all, this is the November issue of Western Wednesdays, coming to you in October. On a Friday. We're just going to say at this point, we're making things up, Stace. By the way, I'm James Hogan, Assistant Vice Chancellor. I skipped my own introduction. That's how discombobulated we are. We're recording this like a month and change after we interviewed JT.
We are. This is recording number 2. Number two of this. Let's do it.
We'll just acknowledge, the place that we're in right now, and several weeks after Hurricane Helene. And for obvious reasons, folks, we've had to throw a lot of things around and move things around. But we're so excited to bring this interview with JT Poston, legendary Catamount golfer and now PGA Tour win number 3. Oh my gosh! If only everybody who was on Western Wednesdays could go out and win a golf tournament right after, and a $1.2 million purse after that.
It's a direct connection.
Huge,
absolutely.
Huge. I think that's going to happen.
B.
That's right. Make sure you put in your request to be on Western Wednesdays at alumni@wcu.edu. I don't want to wait too long to get into this interview, but I know you had a great time catching up with JT. You've known him for a long time.
A long time.
He is... he just welcomed a new member, Scotty, into his family, had his kiddo born in March. So many big things going on for JT. He's got win number 3 under his belt, his first win down at the Shriners Children's Open in Las Vegas, a 4-foot putt right at the end.
And watching that video, you don't get tired of it. I don't know how many times, actually, I watched Bryant Odom, former men's golf coach, who was JT's coach.
Yep.
His wife, Abby, videoed Bryant watching that last 4-foot putt, and it was just so awesome. All the feels.
It was a one-shot victory.
Yeah.
We interviewed JT at the JT Poston Invitational, which is why you're going to see us talking to JT at the Waynesville Inn and Golf Club. And first of all, beautiful facility, but I also happen to know Sunday when JT won at the Shriners in Las Vegas, a bunch of Catamounts in the clubhouse watching television on Sunday, cheering him on when he made that 4-foot putt for the win. Huge deal, a lot of purple, a lot of celebration out there in Waynesville, right where we had this interview. So, Stacy, I think let's get into it.
I think we do it.
JT Poston, welcome to Western Wednesdays. We're so excited to have you here on the show. Thanks for spending time with us today. I want to just start off by asking you, how did you get into playing golf? Were you a kid? Was this a first time out? You were 5, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so my dad and my grandfather played a lot of golf growing up. My grandfather was a really good player, and so I started at a young age just kind of following them to the range and fell in love with it pretty early on. And I think they like to joke that it was hard to kind of drag me off the range or off the putting green a lot of times. I just fell in love with it right away. And so from a young age, I've just always had a passion for it.
So that's in Hickory, North Carolina, where you're from. Were you playing courses around there?
Yeah, my dad was a member at Lake Hickory Country Club, so I grew up playing there. Was fortunate there were a lot of young kids that were playing at the time, and so summertime or even just weekends, my parents would drop me off at the golf course at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they'd pick me up when the sun went down. And it was perfect for a kid growing up. I spent all day at the golf course, and I loved it. And probably ran up a little bit too many tabs on chicken fingers and honey mustard and French fries and stuff.
At the turn.
But it was great. It was perfect.
There's nothing like following your dad or your granddad around on a golf course.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how does that translate then to getting to Western, right? There's a lot of kids out there playing a lot of sports.
Mm-hmm.
and not a lot of them make it to the Division I level, right? So
Yeah.
how does that translate into, being a kid and following these people around to becoming a real thing and Division I college athlete at Western?
Yeah, so my grandfather, like I said, was a really good player, and he played some senior amateur events and some tournaments and stuff. And for me, it started as playing golf tournaments. I'm a competitive person in everything that I do, and so it was like naturally and pretty soon I wanted to play golf tournaments. And so that whole process of junior golf and getting recruited and amateur golf and I knew I wanted pretty early on. I knew I wanted to play college golf, and so the whole junior golf process and recruiting process was fun, and I was happy to land at Western, and it was a good fit right away. When I did my visits and stuff, I meeting at the time, Carter Chevis was the head coach, and he was from Morganton, like 30 minutes down the road from where I grew up, and it was a good fit. I love the mountain golf that Western provided.
It's a different kind of golf course, right?
Yeah, it's different. But being from Hickory, I was familiar with it, and I just loved it, and I knew that it was a place that I could go and play right away, but also continue to grow, improve my game and get pushed. So it was a good fit.
When you got to Cullowhee, and you were, brand new freshman, you were out there on the course as a competitive D1 golfer. Was it different? Did you get a sense of like, oh, this is really a new level? And how did you respond to that?
Honestly, I think I was a little naive. I think that sort of hit maybe towards the end of my first semester, but my first few tournaments, I was just so excited to be playing college golf, and like it's what I've loved to do since I was a kid, right? Yeah. So I was just having fun playing tournaments and playing with my teammates and competing, and I think kind of sort of realizing that level that probably hit maybe further into that first semester or further into that freshman year, but it definitely is. I mean, these guys at this level are really good, and you saw that firsthand playing those tournaments.
JT, who was important to you in your time as a collegiate student at Western?
Two people come to mind. My grandfather, who I spoke about earlier. He like I said, he got me into the game, and he was always very passionate about it, and he was a big sort of influence on me developing as a golfer as a kid and getting to this level. And we always had together had a dream of like playing college golf, turning professional, playing professional golf, playing on the PGA Tour. And so like he is somebody that comes to mind for sure. And then Bryant Odom, who was my coach my junior and senior year, he helped me a lot, really take my game to the next level my last 2 years in college. I would say my first 2 years I was playing really good, but just couldn't, I wanted to win golf tournaments and I just couldn't quite do it. And Bryant brought a great sort of perspective in, and he helped me kind of figure out how to win some golf tournaments.
Yeah.
And so
It's exciting to see Bryant still supporting you, not just on the tour and going and showing up to things, but also here.
Yeah.
He's here. He's got his team here. I saw Abby and Charlie earlier this morning. So that's exciting to see that as well. And talk a little bit more about your experience in your time at Western. If I recall correctly, that was pre-golf van and you were driving yourself to practice.
Yep.
And some of those trips were pretty tough, right? And that work ethic speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I think the big lesson was just the discipline that it took to go. If you really want to be good, which I knew that I did, and I knew I had goals at Western, I knew I had goals beyond Western, but like you said, you had to drive yourself to practice. You had to go practice when the weather wasn't great. You had to go do the things that you needed to do in order to get better, and it may not be what you really wanted to do, but
playing golf in January here
can be a little bit tough.
It's tough, yeah.
Not what you want to do.
I mean, I can remember a few practices and even times when I went out on my own and even behind Norton where our short game area was.
That's
and
right.
be 40 degrees, blowing, maybe raining, and I'd layer up, and I was like, I'm just going to go spend an hour, and I'm going to get better if I do this. And so it was kind of learning that mentality that I sort of
Really prepared you to play golf in Scotland, I guess.
Yeah. I will say there's a lot of guys that get over to Scotland, and I feel like it's a little bit of a shock, like the weather, and I'm like, this is, I feel
You're
like
only playing in Florida.
I played in this, yeah.
Right.
Just
like,
a little more wind. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so JT, you leave Western, you play professionally, and then you earn your PGA Tour card. Tell us about that. What did it feel like to know? Because you and your grandfather shared this dream, and then here it is, and you've earned it. You've gotten there.
I mean, it's incredible. I had dreamed about it since I was a kid, and just professional golf. I was fortunate it happened fast, and I was having so much fun playing professional golf. I didn't really care what tour I was playing on. I was loving it because it was a dream, and was fortunate enough to play well and get out on tour and just playing the golf courses that I grew up watching on TV, seeing the guys and getting to know some of those guys that I'm used to watching on TV, and all of a sudden I'm hitting range balls next to them, and I'm used to looking up to them, and now all of a sudden I've got to figure out how to beat them, and it was great. It was everything I thought it would be.
So for the average listener out there who doesn't know how you get on the tour, tell us real quickly, what is that process?
That's a hard process to put into a few words, but it basically you've got you've got developmental tours. The Korn Ferry Tour is directly below the PGA Tour, and that's the most popular avenue, and that was the way that I went. So you play a full season on that tour, and the top 30 finishers on that season's point list at the end of the year get their tour card. And so that was the year that I got my card. I played that year and finished 10th on the list, and we've been out on tour ever since.
Been out on tour ever since. You mentioned what it's like to stand on a putting green or out on a driving range with some of the names that are just celebrated over the decades in professional golf. Was there a golfer that you always looked for on television, or when you would walk a course at a tour event, looked up to, and then suddenly you find yourself, like you said, trying to figure out how to beat them? Who were some of those golfers, and what were those interactions like?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind obviously is Tiger Woods. I grew up that age where we all grew up watching him dominate the sport, and a lot of us can relate, or not relate, but we can think back and say, I want to be that guy, or
right.
I want to do that. And that was a big influence on kind of setting that goal as a kid, and getting out on tour and seeing him at tournaments. And I've gotten to play with him a couple times, and that up close is pretty surreal as a kid that's used to watching him win majors on TV. And the crowds are obviously wild, but he's obviously the first one that comes to mind. There's some guys in Sea Island where I live now that have they took me under their wing when I first got out on tour, and have become really good friends. Guys like Harris English, Patton Kizzire, Chris Kirk, guys that are not that much older than me, but they had been out for a handful of years before I got out there. So those are guys that sort of come to mind. And
you I'll misappropriate this quote, but I've heard several times, whether it's Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus, somebody, the game of golf is really played in the 5 inches between your ears.
Yeah.
When you're playing around with Tiger Woods, how do you keep that quiet?
It's a good question. There's just a lot going on. I feel like for me, I kind of embraced it and was just like, this is, your 10-year-old self would be absolutely losing his mind right now. So enjoy this. And as much as it was a tournament and I wanted to compete, and when I got paired with him, it was a playoff event. So it was a big week.
Right.
But I'm telling myself, you're playing with the best player of all time. I've earned my spot here. Yeah. And so it's enjoy it, go, there's going to be noise. There's going to be distractions. The crowds are going to be crazy, but they're really not here to see you. They're here to see Tiger. So like you can sit back and watch it too. And so it was fun.
But JT, and talking about that, the Catamounts roared the day you got that card. As you know, it was everywhere. Everybody's excited, full of excitement and thrill for you. And you've had a good following. I think the Catamounts love showing up for JT Poston.
Yes.
And what is that like? Because there are a lot of people there to see the Tiger Woods, but there's a lot of people who are going all over to be a part of your journey and continue following you. And how's that feel?
It feels great. I mean, I love having the support. It's great. I see a lot of familiar faces on the road. My caddy and I, we joke like the Catamounts travel better than probably any other school, and we'll go. I mean, we obviously travel all over the country with the tour's schedule, and we'll see some purple walking the fairways in places that we would not have expected.
I love that.
You get in the Southeast or the Carolinas. You're like, we'll probably see some Catamount fans, some alumni out there. But when you're in Honolulu, Hawaii, or out in California, you're not really expecting.
You're not looking for it.
Yeah, it's like every single week. And he loves to joke. He's like, he's a big Kentucky fan. He's like, I don't think Kentucky fans travel this well.
And if you're not following his Twitter for all things JT, I highly advise that because it is pretty comical.
It's high entertainment.
Maybe what we ought to do is we put the PGA Tour events on the alumni events calendar.
That's great.
And we'll show up to a couple of them. We'll
I'm
put
there.
Bring it on. I'll take all the help
together.
I can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll absolutely be there.
Talk a little bit about your win at Wyndham. And, it's somewhat of a home course for you.
Yeah.
Right? Big crowd there, big home showing. Share a little bit about that. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there interested in hearing how that went for you.
Yeah, I don't think I could have scripted it any better. I mean, obviously, that's the goal, is to win on the PGA Tour. It's my first win. It's an hour and a half from where I grew up in Hickory, North Carolina. I had an incredible following, mix of Hickory crowd, Western crowd. I even had 3 or 4 of my closest college teammates that drove up and they watched on Sunday. And like, thinking back, I think I was maybe 3 or 4 shots back going into Sunday. So for them to drive up thinking I was going to win is a big, I guess they had a lot more belief than maybe I did. Like, I knew I had a good chance, but I knew how hard that was going to be. And it just was perfect. I mean, to cap it off the way that I did, to do it
tell
that
us, tell us the story
home.
of that round. You're starting off.
So it was, I was bogey free the whole week, which I didn't know it at the time, but I was the first person to do that in like 40 years, which is cool to have that little nugget of history. But it was just one of those days where I'd been playing great all week, and Sunday I was, I think, 3 or 4 back and knew I needed a low one, and I got off to a great start. And it essentially, for the whole back 9, it was me and Ben On were the only 2 that we were kind of duking it out. And I felt like I would make a birdie and then he'd make a birdie behind me, and then because I was playing in front of him, and I'd make another one and he'd make another one, or he'd make 2. And it was just a fun, what you dream of as a kid, like coming down the stretch, back 9 on Sunday, like you're playing great and you're trying to win your first tour event, and just to be able to step up to the plate and do it instead of, the nerves getting the best of you. And it was an awesome day. I will never forget it.
Did you? I know a lot of times you hear golf commentators saying things like, that whoever's here hears the gallery roar over there.
Yeah.
And something happened. And in that particular setting, coming off the back 9 Sunday of a tournament, if the guy behind you is sparking enthusiasm, then you've got to keep stepping up.
Yeah.
Was that a factor for you? How much energy were you able to pull in, and then how do you manage that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of feeding off of the crowd that was following me. I mean, we had a pretty big crowd following that back 9, and it was a lot of familiar faces. I was trying to stay focused, obviously, but saw a lot of purple, saw a lot of Hickory crowd and some friends, and every birdie that I made, there was a pretty big roar, and every big putt, every big shot, they were all in and supporting it. So it was cool to experience that and kind of channel it and use it. And yeah, I feel like it definitely helped get me to the finish line.
And you turn in your scorecard on the 18th. You're standing there. You got to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Nerve-wracking. I'm one of those guys. I like being in control.
Were you pacing back over? Yeah.
I want the ball in my court. I don't like
Yeah.
having to rely on what the other guy's doing.
Yeah.
And the good thing is like I said, we were bogey-free the whole week, so I knew I could tell myself if I get beat, I got beat because
Yeah.
I played a perfect tournament essentially, and I was at peace with that. And I think we were just sitting there waiting, and I think Ben had a long putt that if he made it, we would have gone into a playoff, and
Right.
who knows? But thankfully, didn't work out.
Thankfully, you
for him.
didn't hit that,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
So you talked a little bit about, playing in the Southeast and then playing, California, Hawaii, all these, other places.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite course?
I do, yeah. For playing all the golf that we've played all over the world, all over the country, I still come back to the Carolinas and the South. I mean, it's maybe because it's what I grew up playing, but Hilton Head, the Heritage, is one of my favorites.
Right.
That we play every year. Obviously, the majors are a step above. So, like, the Masters is obviously the best one that I will ever play. And the
Had you
Open
played
and-
Augusta before?
I had not. No.
So that was your first time on.
First time, yeah, yeah. First Masters is a surreal experience.
I can't even begin to imagine.
Same. I feel that way about the one day that I'll actually
Yeah.
go there.
Right,
Yeah.
just to
as
walk
a
around.
spectator,
It's-
right? I can't fathom
Eat the
It's-
how
pimento
that
cheese
must
sandwich.
feel going in, right? And
And it doesn't get old. I mean, I've
Right.
played in 3 of them now, and every time I step foot on property inside the ropes is just like, I mean, it's dream come true as
Yeah.
a kid.
You're part of, as CBS likes to remind us, like the most storied tradition.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, Gordon Bradley and I still talk about it all the time. I'm like, every year I have to watch the opening,
That's
I want
it.
to hear the music. I want to see the
Yeah.
azaleas. And I'll watch it over and over. And he's like, you really do that? Well,
Oh,
yeah.
I'll play it in my car when I'm driving down Magnolia Lane. Like it's just, it's just hard not to.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
You know that this is one of the most celebrated traditions in the sport, and also too, I'm sure that's a different clubhouse to walk around in. It's not just your fellow tour players. Not that that's not already a star-filled, locker room.
Yeah.
But you're looking around at some of these other guys now, who are the legends.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any fun interactions there, or do you mostly just look and move?
The cool thing about the Masters is you obviously have your past champions that come back and play every year, guys that don't play on tour regularly, but they come and they play the Masters. And some of them are still competitive. Like Fred Couples still plays great.
Yeah.
Bernhard Langer still plays great.
Wow.
And just seeing those guys and maybe playing a practice round with them or just talking to them, they have a lot of wisdom about the golf course. They've played it for obviously some of them 20, 30 years. And so there's a lot of tips that they can give the guys that are younger and maybe playing it for the first few times. And I mean, it's a cool, it's very a lot of history, very private, but once you're in there, guys are pretty laid back. And,
Sure.
And,
So they're more open to-
So it's great.
So JT, obviously not every Sunday is in Augusta.
Yeah.
There are a lot of courses in between those majors, and that's the work, right? That's the job. So walk us through, if you will, what is a typical week on the PGA Tour, even if it's at a tour event that's at a golf course that maybe we don't hear and we don't think of immediately.
Yeah.
But what does sort of the Monday through Sunday look like for you as a tour player?
Yeah, I mean, it honestly looks very similar week in and week out. I think that's a big part of having success at the highest level is the consistency. And so for me, Monday is usually either a travel. I either get in Sunday night or I get in Monday morning. And Monday's usually pretty laid back. It's a day to kind of rest and reset if you're coming from another tournament. If you're coming from home or from a week off, you might jump into the practice right away. But Monday's usually pretty laid back. You're getting settled into the week, register for the tournament, stuff like that. Tuesday is a practice round. usually play 9 or 18 holes and practice for a few hours, and that's when you're kind of scoping out the course, preparing for the tournament ahead, and getting a feel for how the course is playing. I'm fortunate enough I've been out on tour long enough. I know these courses like the back of my hand, and so I know what I'm getting into before I even step foot out there. So it makes the practice rounds a little easier, a little less stressful. But Wednesdays we do a Pro-Am, and we'll get to play with either 3 or 4 AMs that have signed up to play with us, which is always fun. You meet a bunch of new people, and sometimes some business partners come out of it, and
Sure.
which is cool. And a lot of times just some connections and friendships, however you want to look at it. And then tournament starts Thursday, and
Yeah.
obviously Thursday, Friday, first 2 rounds, there's a cut after Friday, and then play the weekend if you make the cut. And yeah.
When you're prepping for Thursday, you have a serious practice on Tuesday, you have a fun round on Wednesday. In the back of your mind, are you thinking, oh, I know the pin's going to be here on Saturday or Sunday, and I just want to lay up there? Like, are you plotting the course the whole time, or are you just playing the round?
A lot of times that's what we're doing on Tuesday,
Yeah.
And a little bit Wednesday too. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I've played a lot of them now 7 or 8 times, and so I've seen all the pins. And sometimes you'll show up and there'll be some little changes to the golf course and things like that, new things to learn. But we usually have a pretty good idea of where the pins will be for the most part. We don't know which day, but you know to kind of putt and chip to those pins, and sometimes hit an extra shot or 2 to those pins. And that's kind of where like that prep is important to just more visually than anything, just step up and hit that shot. So then when you're trying to hit it on Thursday or Friday, you're like, all right, well, I just hit it on Tuesday. So it's just a little bit of that nudge of confidence that you've already done it this week, and you can go do it again when it matters.
We're here for the JT Poston Invitational, which has now kind of been partnered to also support not just WCU men's golf, but also the WIGC Charitable Golf Foundation. And so talk a little bit about that work and what this tournament means to you, and then we'll throw some questions and kind of get some of that.
Yeah, I mean,
background.
it's great. I mean, I'm thankful that Tim and Western has wanted to do this tournament and have my name on it. I think is really special. I'm proud of that. I love being back and seeing the guys on the team, supporting them, some other guys, some other old coaches, familiar faces. It's great. I really think Waynesville here is going to be a good fit for the tournament, and I think for the years to come, it's going to be a big. I think it could be a really big tournament, and I love that they have the charitable component behind it too, because that's something that I talked to Tim about early on, with dreams of having my own foundation and doing something like that. And so they've already got a head start, and I think it's great. You know, we've done the auction, we've done the college jam, we've done a few things to kind of just try and raise some money to support Western North Carolina junior golf, and it's obviously close to home for me and something that I want to support and want to try and make a difference. So it's been a great segue into that.
So WIGC Charitable Foundation and its mission to talk about or to support youth golf. Golf is a sport that not a lot of kids have access to.
Yeah.
If you don't have a course membership somewhere, they're not. Well, I say this, it doesn't feel like there are a lot of public courses in Western North Carolina. I guess I don't know the count, but a lot of them are members courses. What do you think, success looks like for you? Is that a 10 or 12-year-old kid playing golf for the first time and thinking maybe I could do this? Is that getting into schools and pitch and putt competitions or something like that? What do you think success looks like?
I think it's more just about the kids. I mean, when I think about, I was very fortunate to grow up at a club, but I think just what golf has taught me, the relationships that I've developed from the game, and I think there's just so much to gain from the game of golf as a kid, and that's, I think, my goal is just to give them that exposure and that I guess be able to develop some of those relationships, and I mean, some of my best friends to this day are people that I've met as a kid playing golf.
Yeah.
And just and like you said, there's just not that much of an opportunity for that for kids in Western North Carolina right now, and so I think we'd love to try and make a difference in doing that. And
I have a question for you. Did or does your grandfather get a chance to see you play?
He did, yeah. He unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he followed me most tournaments. He came to a lot of college events when they were close. Came to a lot of PGA Tour events when I was my first few years on tour. He was there at Wyndham when I won.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Yeah.
Was that one of the first faces you saw coming off the green?
He was right there behind 18 green. It was I mean, I've got a picture on my phone of him, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, and just giving them a big hug, walking off 18, and I feel like they were celebrating like I'd won, and in my head I was like, I don't know if I've won yet, but
Not yet.
Either way, it was still
Yeah.
It was special. For
Such
sure.
a great moment.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
carry that with you a lot when you're
100%. Yeah,
Oh.
100%. I mean, I think about him all the time, and he was a big influence on me as a person, me as a golfer, and yeah. I mean, when I'm out there doing what I'm doing, it's hard not to think about him sometimes.
JT? I know you've spent some time with the team, the Western Carolina men's golf team here at this JT Poston Invitational. And I'm sure that there may have been an opportunity for you to just talk shop, talk about what it's going to be like out there. A question I always like to ask our alumni: if you could go back to day one, week one, when you're on campus as a freshman and find yourself, and your freshman self is wide-eyed and looking at it all, and maybe, like you said, maybe a bit naive to how it's all going to work.
Yeah.
If you could put your arm around yourself and give yourself some advice, some counsel about what's about to happen and where you're going to end up, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell him just to enjoy it, enjoy the ride. I mean, and some of my favorite memories from college are bus rides to tournaments with my teammates, or going to and from practice, and you just take for granted, I think, when you first get there, or you just get used to it, the routine of it, that you feel like it's going to be there all the time. And you have some of your closest friends there. You're all on the same team. You're working towards the same goal, to try and be successful on the golf course and off. But like, it's just something that I feel like was easy to sort of just think was going to last forever and take for granted. And now looking back, I would 100%, like, all the time I wish I could go back and do another semester of college golf. It's some of my favorite memories in my whole career.
I love how you just, easily slid in there, the successful on the course and off, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I felt that to my core, JT,
Yeah.
and I appreciate
I knew you'd appreciate that one, yeah.
all of that. Talk a little bit about, kind of continuing on that, your ongoing relationship with Coach Ekberg and this team,
Yeah.
right? Because, it seems like so long ago that you were here in a lot of ways, and then in some ways it seems like it was
I know.
just a couple of years ago, right? And
Yeah.
so you have done such a phenomenal job of continuing to support, Tim, you didn't play for him. You didn't
Yeah.
have to do that, right? But you have, and you stayed connected to him and to the program. So what's that like to come out and be around the team that's here now?
I just, I think back to when I was in school, and I try and just be a resource for them, whether it's questions about golf game or college golf or something else. Like, I just know, I remember there were a few guys when I was in school that were that way, and you could bounce some questions off of them, and it helps. And so I just try and be that for those guys. It's not anything special, but just kind of be here and just let them know, like, if you reach out, feel free to reach out. You've got my phone number. Text me, call me. Tim's got it if you don't have it. Like, I'm here to help these guys, and I want them to succeed. I know, what they're facing week in and week out, and if there's any way that I can help, then I'd love to do that.
And it's easy to think golf is an individual sport, but there are a lot of relationships behind that that make that happen. So, JT, are you saying that maybe I could text you if I'm looking for some pointers? I mean,
sure. I mean,
Absolutely
swing
not.
advice. I'm not as good at the swing advice stuff, but it's more like you said. It's 90% mental. I've been in their shoes, had the pressure shots, that sort of thing.
Wait till
but
you see my swing. You'll have some advice.
I'm not good at deconstructing a golf swing, and I might make you worse.
You have to ask Gorham about when he took me golfing to give me lessons. Gorham Bradley,
Yeah.
God bless him. And I swung, and he stopped, and he said, I have no idea.
I don't know what to tell
I
you.
was like, great,
Can't help you.
thanks, Jim,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
You stand on the
Okay.
other side of the ball, try it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. JT, before we let you go, one of the things that we're working on at Western is to improve facilities for athletics. You had talked about the hours that you spend driving to practice. What does it mean at the collegiate level to have access to a practice facility, to have hitting bays, to have an experience, a practice experience that doesn't involve an hour or 2 hours of travel, while you're also going to classes
Or
et
going
cetera,
and
et
finding a
cetera?
field
Well,
when it's
yeah.
40 degrees, like you
Right.
mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it is having that facility and having that access to go practice when you want to practice. I mean, with golf specifically, and what I remember in school, like you have different schedules. Guys have classes at different times, and so it's harder to get everybody together and go drive an hour and like finding that time. And we're competitive. You want to play well. You want to get better, and a lot of guys are self-motivated, and just to have a place that they can go on their own. I mean, like a lot of us would do that. You'd have our scheduled practice or qualifying and stuff like that. But we'd also, if we had a couple hours or if we had some good weather on a Friday evening, we would go practice on our own. And just having a place where guys can do that is huge. And it's going to be a big part of the players developing, I think, and the program developing and getting better. I think it's a place where they could definitely improve.
JT Poston, thank you again for the time. Thanks for being here at the JT Poston Invitational, for all you do for Western Carolina, for our golf program, and for the university. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Stacey, I have to admit this was such a fun interview because, in part, I play lousy golf. And the idea of going out there and being competitive like JT is, to play rounds with Tiger Woods, to do that kind of thing is just so beyond my comprehension about how you even do that. And now, JT won in Las Vegas, and he's punched his card in many ways. He's going to be in the Masters tournament. He gets to do it all again.
Right. And how exciting, I can't fathom what it might be like to be in a locker room with Tiger, to play alongside someone like Tiger. And, and JT, obviously, he talks about that and he shared, kind of those emotions that go with it. But, I think in ways I would feel that way about playing with JT. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Please.
like, that's a big deal.
Holy moly. It is. And also what a great thing that he mentors our players. He's there. They have his phone number, and he stays in touch with the team. JT's still a catamount at heart.
He is. He spends lots of time with the team. He's here for the JT Poston Invitational at Waynesville Inn and Golf Club, like, we talked about. And he spends hours with the team. He didn't just stop by on his way to somewhere. He it's a thing, and it's a common occurrence for him. He is a part of it. He wants to be a part of the program. He wants to give back to the program that, helped him kind of build his foundation in this sport. So it's always nice to have him, to have him and his family up and staying in Cashers with the in-laws and, just feeling right back at home a little bit.
Hey, speaking of home, it's coming right up on homecoming weekend.
Yes.
Again, we talked at the top of the show. It's a little bit discombobulated. It's Friday, it's October, but this is the November Western Wednesday. We did want to push this out a little bit early to you because of JT's win in Las Vegas, but also because we want to make sure we get a chance to talk about homecoming
That's right.
more than a couple of days before. Stacey,
Yeah.
what's happening around homecoming?
Homecoming is going to be great. It's going to be busy. You've heard us talk about, the westernmost counties in North Carolina turning green, and some are now yellow and welcoming visitors. And for us, we're just excited to welcome our alumni and friends home for the weekend. We've got a busy schedule. That schedule can be found on alumni.wcu.edu. And you can see all the things going on, but we're going to kick it off, right off the bat, Friday evening. Come out and join us. Support our current students in the homecoming parade, and your alumni award winners will be there too. But alumni will paint downtown Silva purple. We've got a big block party happening down there, Alumni Central, as we like to call it. So make a whole weekend of it. Don't just come up on Saturday for the game. Come and spend the whole weekend.
It'll be a lot of fun from start to finish. I know right now it's hard to say how much longer it's going to last, but the leaves are just incredible right now.
They're beautiful. We got a little bit of a delay. Maybe the only positive of the storm is we had a little bit of a delay in the leaves changing, and so they are at at peak right now, and it is beautiful up here.
Absolutely great weekend to spend in the mountains, and it goes without saying it's a tough needle to thread, folks. You've all obviously seen the devastation around Western North Carolina. I know it's tough to say, come see us, come stay with us, particularly when there are so many people who are still rebuilding, when there are people without power, without water. But Jackson County is open. It is green. There are a lot of good folks here who really depend upon you for your support every fall when you come up here and stay with us and eat out and show that Catamount spirit around Cullowhee and Silva and all these other areas where you guys love to stay. So,
and James, for the parade, we have to mention that for the parade after party, we're going to have live music.
It's going to be great.
4 different locations, including our baseball alum, Matt Stillwell, who will be playing at the Lazy Hiker parking lot. But we will have many other alumni playing. We've got Terry Lynn Queen, Tim Gillespie, a whole group playing at Martha's Place. So it's just $5 to register for that and get you your very own WCU branded Social District Cup.
We send out an alumni and friends newsletter every month, the Cullowhee Connection. One of the things I said in the last one in October was, I think we're going to need homecoming more than ever, maybe.
We do.
It's a good time to come home.
It's going to be a great time to be together.
I am going to keep my fingers crossed right now and say it out loud. I am hopeful that also homecoming weekend we'll be playing some soccer in the Southern Conference tournament in Cullowhee, I hope. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We'll know soon enough.
Pay attention, y'all, because the soccer team is on a streak. They have a chance to repeat as SoCon champions, as regular season champions. It's really fun to watch. And speaking of watching, I wanted to say thank you to all of you guys who watch Western Wednesday. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share, all of those fun social media strategy terms that we like to say, that we need to say. And also thanks to Sam Wallace, thanks to Paul Gardner, Tanner Norman, all the people behind the scenes who make Western Wednesdays happen and get it into your inbox or onto your screens or earbuds or however you listen.
Thanks to you guys for listening and following along.
Yeah, thanks to JT Poston as well for spending time with us out in Waynesville. And we hope to see you for one more episode of Western Wednesdays before we call this a season soon. And as always, go Cats.